France again in the news today. A major alert at the country's second busiest airport. Security forces have shot dead a man at Paris Orly after he tried to seize an automatic rifle from one of the officers. Here's what France's defence minister had to say about it.
This morning, an individual tried to attack a patrol. The patrol included 3 officers. He wrestled the female officer to the floor and tried to take her weapon, but she managed to keep hold of it. Her colleagues decided to open fire to protect her and the public at the airport.
The information we can give regarding this case is that the man's identity was known to the police and intelligence services.
So it appears that the attacker is a 39-year-old French national. He was previously known to police and intelligence services for robbery and drug offences. There are also reports that he was a radicalised Muslim. Let's get more now. We'll go live to Charlotte Dubinsky. She's at Orly Airport for us. Hi there, Charlotte. Break down how things developed throughout the day here from early morning.
Well, I'm at Paris Orly Airport, the South Terminal, where those dramatic events unfolded at around 8:30 a.m. local time here in France. And as you can see, it's pretty busy at the moment. That's because some parts of the airport have been reopened, but there are parts that are still closed after that man launched an attack at 3 soldiers trying to wrestle that automatic rifle from one of the female soldiers. And then before, the soldiers themselves responded by shooting him dead not far from where I'm standing here. That caused wide scenes of terror here at the airport as people heard those gunfire being shot, and they actually tried to flee the airport. There was an evacuation of around 3,000 people here. This is one of France's busiest airports with around 30 million people coming through here every day. And this morning, dramatic scenes as people tried to flee the scene of this incident, some tripping over their luggage as they tried to get out for their safety. This is what eyewitnesses told us.
We were at the airport checking in our bags. We saw a woman run down the stairs. She was shouting, "He has a weapon, he has a weapon," and we heard 2 gunshots and ran towards the exit like everyone else.
He was holding the woman by her neck with the police officer's gun in his hand. We understood the seriousness of the situation and fled. Later, we heard several shots.
When we entered the building, it was calm. Then within several meters, I saw a young man. He took a female officer hostage, and an evacuation happened very quickly.
Well, many people terrified as they heard those gunshots this morning, as you just heard there, as dramatic scenes unfolded here at the airport. But it didn't start here, it ended here. It actually started at about 7 a.m. local time in a northern suburb of Paris, where the man who was shot dead here at the airport was stopped by police for an ID check in his car. He actually shot at the police during that ID check, and he fled the scene, later abandoning that car and hijacking another car nearby, which was then left here at the airport before he came in to then try and take that automatic rifle away from the soldiers. Now an investigation is underway as to how that man, who was on a watch list here in France and who had a string of crimes behind him, including armed robbery, was able to get here and to have a gun in the first place. Police are questioning his family members, some of whom have actually said to the police that he sent a text message to them this morning saying, "I shot at police, I made a mistake." We find out more from this. We're waiting as this investigation undergoes to find out exactly what happened and how this happened yet again here in France.
There's still a fair bit we don't know, isn't there? Charlotte Dubinsky reporting from Paris, thank you. Well, this photo has emerged online. It's said to be the attacker's body at that airport after he was shot dead by police. Bomb disposal units checked the body. They confirmed no explosives were found in his possession. For his part, President Francois Hollande praised the work of security services, while presidential candidate Marine Le Pen's commented now, saying France remains unprotected because of the current government.
I salute the courage and the exceptional actions of the security forces, who were able to shoot the individual and to handle it delicately because it occurred at Orly Airport.
It is inadmissible that the majority of candidates in this election campaign haven't said the words Islamist terrorism. Our government is outdated. Yesterday, it thought of lifting the state of emergency, which in reality hasn't even been implemented. The truth is that the French population is not protected by the people who refuse to look reality in the face.
The editor of the People newspaper spoke to me in neighbouring Belgium and says France doesn't have enough police to control the situation.
France has something like 10,000 people who are considered dangerous, and among them a few thousands who are very dangerous. They don't have enough police to supervise, to follow these people. For example, the guy who this morning tried to steal the gun from this military at the Orly airport, they followed him for some time, but then they abandoned, probably because they don't have enough forces to follow everybody. So it's a real issue in France, and it's going to play, of course, in the hands of Marine Le Pen, probably in the coming elections. So it's really very difficult for the French authorities, but they must crack on these now.
Saturday's attacks come just a month after a similar incident outside the Louvre Museum. France remains under a state of emergency following the initial deadly terror attacks in the capital in late 2015. I discussed the general security situation between then and now with our correspondent Maria Finoshina.
Back in February, a 29-year-old Egyptian attacked soldiers guarding the main entrance of the Louvre Museum. He was shot and wounded at the scene. And interesting is that later the social media accounts of the attacker revealed that he was sympathizing with the Islamic State. France has been suffering from terrorism a lot. The deadliest event happened in November 2015. In what is known now as Paris attacks. 130 people were killed, and later Islamic State, ISIL, took responsibility for these incidents, and that was shock not only for France, but for the entire Europe, for the entire world. And since then, the state of emergency has been enforced in France. In July 2016, another deadly event in Nice when more than 80 people were killed, and it was clear for the authorities that it is not ready for the country to lift the state of emergency. And just this Wednesday, we heard from France's justice minister that they are considering seriously to lift the state of emergency. And next day, two other incidents happened. There was a situation with a shooting in student camp, and there was an explosion at the IMF office in Paris when an employee opened a letter and there was an explosion. So it's clear right now that no matter what the authorities are saying, they're not quite able to control the situation so far.